Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive right into a profoundly deep philosophical concept today. Honestly, it's an idea that can literally turn your entire perspective on human existence completely upside down. We're drawing our insights from the visionary framework of the Risalat al-Salam International Foundation, and specifically, we're looking at the work of thinker Ali Muhammad Al-Sharafa Alhamadi. The big theme we're focusing on is the concept of human stewardship on Earth. And, this isn't just your classic religious narrative. It's a total, radical reframing of how we think about our actual role as humans on this planet. So let's just get right into it.
To start us off on the right foot, we really need to pause and ask a pivotal question that basically summarizes this whole story. Is stewardship an honor, or is it a mandate? We hear all the time about how humanity is honored, right? How we're given this high status among all creation. And because of that, a really subtle feeling has sort of crept into our minds, a superficial misconception, really, that we've just been handed this honorary title. It's almost like we think we're getting VIP treatment on this planet with absolutely zero strings attached. But unfortunately, the surface-level view makes us completely ignore the other side of the coin. The reality that this honor comes with a massive obligation that is so much heavier than we often realize.
Think about it like this, because the cognitive dissonance here is wild. Consider the VIP guest mentality. This is totally passive, feeling entitled, just expecting the world to cater to you while you lounge around. But the reality is that we're meant to be responsible managers. We are not guests kicking back in a luxury hotel. We are the active managers explicitly responsible for its daily maintenance and its ultimate civilizational success. The Earth isn't just a place we happen to crash. It's literally a project we've been hired to run.
All right, so moving into Section 1, honor or mandate, let's clear up exactly where this misunderstanding comes from. There is a really fascinating foundational Quranic verse here that says, "Indeed, I will make upon the earth a successive authority." Now, this verse isn't just talking about creating a creature that passively breathes, eats, and hangs out on Earth. The wording actually carries a heavy directive. This creature is being commissioned with an incredibly active, positive mission to be fully responsible for building and reforming the Earth. So, simply put, our existence isn't just a coincidence or a passing phase, it's a massive, integrated work project.
Which brings us to Section 2, humanity's civilizational function. Let's talk about what humanity is actually meant to do. So, what does this mean in practice? The absolute crucial point is that stewardship is not some shiny medal we pin on our chest to show off. It's a civilizational function. It requires continuous societal responsibility. We're talking exhaustion, deep commitment, and daily, grueling hard work. Humans weren't created to just be a burden on nature. The contrast is super stark here. The correct path is an explicit call to action, building and reforming. The incorrect path? Well, that's laziness, destruction, and corruption. The sources we're reviewing today make it crystal clear that true faith and daily behavior are inextricably linked. True worship is never separated from the exhausting work of building society. They actually complement each other perfectly.
Consider this direct, totally undeniable mandate. The verse translates to, "and he has settled you therein," but the specific linguistic root in the original text implies a direct request to develop the earth. This isn't gentle advice, folks. It is a fundamental directive. We are responsible for developing the planet, intelligently investing its resources, and extracting its wealth to generate tangible benefit for absolutely everyone. Yes, the universe is made available to us, but definitely not so we can neglect it, drain it, or corrupt it. We are literally here to develop it.
So, how do we actually execute this civilizational mandate on the ground? The source provides 3 highly logical, practical steps. Step 1, discover the laws of nature, meaning science, research, and relentless study are at the absolute core of our duty. Step 2 is the conscious use of those resources. And step 3, employing these discoveries for the benefit of all humanity. That's the ultimate goal. Science isn't just a luxury or a hobby, it is the core of our planetary duty. Working hard and establishing justice, those aren't side quests, they are the main mission.
Let's pivot a bit to Section 3, lessons from human history. Let's see what happens when civilizations completely miss the memo on this mandate. History reveals a much darker side to this issue. It's a very dangerous illusion regarding the privilege of power versus the weight of responsibility. Unfortunately, throughout the ages, a lot of humans deeply misunderstood stewardship. They saw it as an acquired right, an honor that somehow gave them the authority to dominate and control others, completely forgetting it was a mandate to serve. And when power transforms from a heavy responsibility into a mere tool for dominance, the inevitable result is catastrophic. We're talking tyranny, oppression, and total societal collapse.
Historically, the divergence is just as clear as day. Think about the civilizations that advanced. These are the societies that understood stewardship as a sacred trust. They managed their resources wisely, they achieved justice, and therefore they progressed and flourished. Now compare that to the nations that declined. These groups completely ignored their responsibilities, relied on empty, ringing slogans without doing the real work, and ultimately failed, even if they possessed immense wealth. Having vast wealth without a profound sense of responsibility is a guaranteed recipe for failure.
To really drop the hammer on this historical lesson, we have this powerful verse, "And cause not corruption upon the earth after its reformation." The text clearly states that a true steward builds and protects. They absolutely do not destroy. Since the core of stewardship is reform, then corruption and the destruction of resources, whether natural or societal, is an outright betrayal of this mandate. Destruction is, quite simply, a complete departure from the very purpose we were created for. Moving right along to Section 4, Stewardship in Daily Life. Let's bring this grand philosophical concept down to the micro level. The really crucial takeaway here is that stewardship is absolutely not exclusive to presidents, kings, or major decision-makers. Everyday people in their daily jobs are performing this great cosmic duty. Think about the conscientious teacher raising the next generation. That is a steward. The judge ruling with justice, a steward. The scientist researching. The worker perfecting their craft. The official protecting citizens' rights. All of them are executing their civilizational function and fulfilling their mandate with supreme integrity. Finally, let's look at Section 5. How do we use it? It's time for a paradigm shift on how we measure success. In our fast-paced modern world, we are constantly asking a really superficial question. What do we have, right? How much money, resources, or power is in our hands? But what's incredibly interesting is that the vision we're exploring today considers this a fundamentally flawed metric. Hoarding abundant resources is not a civilizational achievement at all. The real test, the true metric of stewardship is, how do we use what we have? Do we use our power for genuine reform and justice, or do we just use it for selfish domination and corruption? It really all boils down to this. National renaissance begins with a deep sense of responsibility, not empty slogans. True progress doesn't come from grand rhetoric or making big speeches. It comes from looking at the exact same resources and authority and choosing to manage them responsibly. It comes from performing small, daily duties with absolute sincerity and honesty, day in and day out. So, to bring this entire explainer full circle, here is our definitive summary. True stewardship on Earth was never a badge to brag about our status among creatures, and it was certainly never an excuse for control. True stewardship is a massive trust. It is an ongoing project of knowledge, labor, and giving back to humanity. When we finally realize that our role is a mandate before it's an honor, we actually transform into a constructive force capable of genuinely changing the world for the better. And that is why I want to leave you with this final, open question to chew on. How will each of us practice our civilizational role today? Knowing what you know now, how will you apply this empowering philosophy in your everyday life? I really encourage you to think deeply about this as you go about your day. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, I wish you continuously useful and fruitful learning.